Hello and welcome to the November episode of Suite 301. I'm Sandy Sanderson, coming to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Colt Club Sports headquarters. Here to give you all the news and updates around all our Colt Club Sports leagues. Remember, you can follow our broadcasts across all our gamut of social media outlets, including our Suite 301 page, Facebook, and our YouTube channel. So when we think about November, I'm thinking about Thanksgiving's right around the corner. We're on the doorstep. We're thinking about family. We're thinking about friends. We're thinking about turkey. We're thinking about football. That's right, NCFA football. It's in full gear, and we just wrapped up the playoffs this past weekend, which set the table for our national championship coming up on December 2nd. So let's dive right into our football segment here. And prior to our playoff, let's dive into our power rankings our final power rankings that were established last week that set up our playoff matchups. Coming out of the conference championship weekend in the South Atlantic, Central Georgia Tech defeated our reigning national champs, Gordon State. Our defending national champions, Gordon State, in the South Atlantic playoffs, and crowning Central Georgia their first Central South Atlantic and National Conference championship. Ohio State matched up with Michigan State in the Great Lakes Conference championship game. Michigan State was number one in the country at the time. Ohio State beat them handedly and dethroned them from that number one spot. And in the North Atlantic, Sacred Heart took care of business against George Mason again in the North Atlantic Conference Championship game, having beaten them already earlier in the regular season. So that gave us our three conference champions and automatic qualifiers to the playoff round. So with Central Georgia Tech, Sacred Heart, and Ohio State auto qualifying for the playoffs, it came down to the power rankings. The next highest ranked team that didn't win their conference ended up being Michigan State, taking the number 4 seed, and thus set our field of 4 for the conference champion or for the playoff round that was held this past weekend at the University of Toledo. I'm going to welcome to the show Director of Football Operations Dave Mogensen, who can talk to us a little bit more about those playoff matchups.
Hey Sandy, how's it going?
Good, Dave. How are we doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
Excellent.
So we had a good matchup of teams in the playoffs at Toledo this last weekend.
Absolutely. And for those that weren't following, we were able to secure Toledo's varsity stadium for this event, the Glass Bowl as they call it. What a venue for these club teams to get to play postseason football in.
Yeah, it's probably going to be the nicest stadium that anybody plays in throughout the course of the season. It's a Division I college football stadium, so it's really nice. Toledo rolled out the red carpet for the teams. They had access to the indoor facility to do some warming up. Obviously, had the locker rooms and stuff like that. So for all the 4 teams that were involved, it's probably a really awesome experience.
Excellent. Well, let's get into a little bit of the game results there. Our first game of the day, number 1 seeded Central Georgia Tech versus the number 4 seeds, the wild card Michigan State Spartans.
Yeah, so Central Georgia Tech undefeated throughout the season. Had a couple close games. Gordon State played them really tough, and Gordon State has some legs to stand on as possibly being the 4th best team in the league. But Michigan State did everything right up until the point where they lost to Ohio State. They were really banged up. Their quarterback was a game-time decision. He ended up playing. They lost a couple other guys in that conference championship game against Ohio State. So they weren't really the Michigan State team that we saw like the first 6-7 weeks of the season. But they really played very hard. Central Georgia Tech's just a really good football team. They got big athletic players at all positions, and they pretty much controlled the game throughout. There was a small little part right after halftime where Michigan State made a few adjustments, got a couple scores, but Central Georgia Tech put the pedal to the metal and kind of pulled away from the game. So it was never really in doubt. Number 1 team in the country did what they were on paper supposed to do.
All right, and that number 1 team doing what they're supposed to do is going to carry them to the number 1 seed in the national championship game in 2 weeks. And unfortunately, with Central Georgia Tech still traveling back from the game, we weren't able to get Coach Terry Kendrick online for a interview here today. Anything else anything else you want to add about that first game before we move on to the nightcap of the playoff matchups? Oh, we might have lost Dave. Okay, so the second game of the playoff round matchups featured the number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes versus number 3 Sacred Heart Pioneers. Ohio State, NCFA fans know they've won 2 of the last 3 national titles, played in last year's national title, and fell to Gordon State. Well, despite having a lead in the fourth quarter in that game. But Ohio State, coming off the graduation of stellar quarterback Kellen Gerenstein, and Sacred Heart coming off, a previous national champion in themselves, but with a new head coach this year, Ohio State took down Sacred Heart by a score of 43-9 in that playoff game Saturday night at the Glass Bowl in Toledo. We got Dave back. All right, we're going to go to we're going to bring onto the show James Grega, head coach of Ohio State. Coach Grega, how we doing?
Good, Sandy. How are you?
Doing okay. Hey, congratulations on another conference championship as well as another playoff win and a berth to the national title game.
Appreciate it, Sandy. Look, Michigan State and Sacred Heart, 2 really tough opponents that played hard. I know the score is a little more lopsided, but both Coach Beach and Coach Mike over at Sacred Heart do great jobs. They have really tough, hard-nosed kids. But we're really fortunate and really excited to be back in the
Now, let me ask you this, Coach. One of the first things we thought about when we thought about Ohio State this season is the loss of Kellen Gerenstein. He's been the heart and soul of your team on the field at quarterback, for the last number of seasons. He graduates, moved on, stays in football. So a big question mark on everybody's eyes about Ohio State was how did they fill those shoes? And it seems like Spencer Moore's done a fine job. Take us through that.
Yeah, so Spencer's been on the team since 2019. And my favorite thing about Spencer is he didn't play a down of high school football. He had played a little bit of Little League football, but didn't play at all in high school. He was a golfer. And he'd been on the team since 2019, and actually in 2019, he was believe it or not, he was our scout team player of the year. He played receiver, tight end, lined up a little bit of linebacker, and even a little bit of defensive end. I don't think he started a game that year, came off the bench in kind of mop-up duty in 2019, and it just kind of stuck with it. Quarterback has always been his primary position, what he's most naturally suited for, but as you mentioned, when you have a guy like Kellen Gerenstein we had the last 4 years, it's just playing time at quarterback was hard to come by. So he took some graduate classes this year to be eligible and play, to kind of be the guy. He's kind of waited for 3 years to be the guy, to be the starter. And he since graduated, but wasn't quite ready to hang him up, wanted to be the guy, and had obviously earned that right, sat behind Kellen for a number of years. So he enrolled in some graduate courses, and here we are. He's thrown 30 touchdown passes, which I believe is the league's single-season record. He's doing an unbelievable job for us, and he's a great leader as well.
What's it like to coach a quarterback like that who really has such little experience at the position? I mean, you think about quarterback, it's the most dynamic position on the field. You got to know not just what you're doing, but what the other 10 guys on your offensive side of the ball are doing on every play. How do you coach a kid like that doesn't have that kind of experience?
Well, he's been in the program since 2019, so he's been around, and he had played a number of different positions. In the 2019 national championship game against Oakland, he was in the third and fourth quarter at receiver because we had some injuries. In 2021, we came off the pandemic year. He knew that Kellen was our quarterback for another 2 seasons, and so he wasn't going to get a lot of reps at quarterback. So he added about 10 to 15 pounds and played tight end. And he actually caught a touchdown pass in the national championship game against George Mason back in 2021. And then last year, Kellen got hurt in our first game of the season in 2022, and he had to step in and start a game at quarterback against Michigan State in the regular season last year, and he stepped in through 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. And quarterback's always been his most natural position, but what has helped him adapt and make it such a seamless transition is because he's played so many different positions on our team, offense or defense. And so he's been in the system for 4 years. He knows the playbook probably better than anybody, including myself at this point. And, he came into this offseason ready to go and trained really hard, knowing he was going to be the guy. And, you see the results he's putting up. He's been fantastic.
Well, that's exciting, and we look forward to seeing him on the national stage here in less than 2 weeks. But let's say, we look at these scores, 43-9. I believe you didn't give up any points against Michigan State in the Great Lakes Championship game.
Right.
Talk to us about the Buckeye defense this year and what it's looking like. 'Cause it's obviously not yielding very many points.
No, a big credit to that is getting our defensive coordinator, Dylan Barron, back. He was on a 1-year hiatus last year, was not on our coaching staff last year, and we still did a good job, but I think having Coach Barron back on the sideline has done wonders for our defense. And we also recruited really hard on that side of the ball. You mentioned before last year's national championship against Gordon State. We were in that game. I know we ended up losing by 20, but as you mentioned, we were leading in the fourth quarter, but we kind of ran out of gas there in the fourth quarter. But with Dylan, Coach Barron has brought to our defense is a lot of energy, a lot of juice, and the guys are playing really fired up behind him. And, we work really well together. He was my defensive coordinator in the 19 and 21 championship seasons. And his level of preparation is off the charts. And he's done an absolute great job. And we spent a lot of time recruiting this offseason because we needed some help. We graduated a lot of other great players, including not just Kellen, but Casey Scroggins, Colby Stahl, guys who were on our team for 2 or 3 years. We needed to replace those guys, and it's not an easy task. So Coach Barron has done an unbelievable job. We've put some great players in there to step up, and we're really happy to have him.
Now, you got to be in a little bit of a unique situation this past weekend at the playoffs, playing the second game of the day.
Yeah.
Did you get to sit in and watch that first game, that Michigan State Central Georgia Tech game, and do a little advanced scouting of what you might see in the national championship?
Sure. We didn't go physically. We were able to keep tabs on the live stream from Campus Nation that they provided. Look, I don't think anybody's going to take Central Georgia Tech lightly. They beat the team that beat us in the national championship last year. They beat them twice. So they're obviously very big, very physical up front, have a lot of size. Those South Atlantic teams usually have a lot of great size up front in the trenches. We saw that last year with Gordon State, and then 2 years previous against Columbus State in the semifinal in 2019. So we know those teams have great size, have great speed. They're well coached. I thought Michigan State did everything they could to hang in. Obviously, a little mismatched in the trenches, but I thought Donovan, their quarterback, battled and did what he could. He actually made some plays. I know he had a touchdown pass, and I know Michigan State was able to put up 2 scores. So, Central Georgia Tech's a great football team. I know Coach Kendrick has a lot of experience in the league, previously with Middle Georgia State. So I know they're going to be well coached. I know they're going to be ready to play, and obviously very impressed with what I've seen on film from them.
All right, good stuff. Do we have a full complement of Buckeyes heading into Pittsburgh in 2 weeks? What's their injury report looking like?
We're a little banged up, as everybody is this time of year, but thankfully nothing too overly serious. Might be out, 1 or 2 guys from our normal rotations, but we actually sat a couple of guys out against Sacred Heart over the weekend. That question marks. We dressed a couple of guys, and even maybe played the first half. But once we were able to build a good lead in that first half, we kind of sat guys out, knowing that we're going to need these guys to get healthy to beat Central Georgia Tech. It's going to need to be all hands on deck. And that's not to say that it wasn't all hands on deck to beat Sacred Heart, but once we were able to establish a lead, we tried to pull a lot of starters at halftime because we know we're going to need everybody to beat Central Georgia Tech. So we're a little banged up, as everybody is this time of year. But thankfully, I don't think it's anything too serious to the point where we're overly concerned about that.
Okay, all right. Well, a little turkey and stuffing always helps heal the wounds a little bit and get you ready for that national championship. So, Coach
Absolutely.
Gregor, we appreciate your time. Congratulations this past weekend, and we will see you in less than 2 weeks at the national
Sounds great.
championship.
Thanks, Sandy. Appreciate it.
No problem. All right, so speaking of that national championship, the field is set. It's now Central Georgia Tech, the number 1 seed. Oh, I'm told we have Terry Kendrick available to us now. Let's bring Terry on the line.
Hey, everybody, how y'all doing?
Coach Kendrick, good to see you.
Good to see you again, man.
Absolutely. Hey, last time we talked, we were congratulating you on a win over Gordon State. Now we're talking about your first playoff win. You got the number one seed. You're the number one rank going into the national championship. You guys got to be flying high right down there at Central Georgia.
Yeah, we're trying to, man. I'm trying to keep the guys calm and keep their head level and just let them know, man, we just got to continue to do what we've been doing, taking it one play at a time.
Absolutely. Talk to us a little bit about this past weekend, your win over Michigan State. You know, a comfortable win on the final score sheet. I know things got a little tightened up closer coming out of halftime, but take us through the game and how you thought it went in your eyes.
Initially, man, it started out great for us. We had 28 points in the first quarter, put some backup guys in, and then, you know, we had a turnover. And then on the kickoff return, man, I guess he thought he fair waved the catch, but he didn't. He just let it bounce, and they picked it up and got the ball right down side of the 20. So that they didn't have far to go on that one. So, you know, in the big games, the young guys, they haven't played much. They kind of freeze up, and I think that's what happened toward, you know, halftime. And right after halftime, we went with a lot of backups, try to get some of our guys that were banged up in the first quarter some rest for the rest of the week because we got to have everybody ready for Ohio State.
Now, after your game, did you stick around and watch the Ohio State Sacred Heart game to do some, scouting? That's a big scary buzzword in college football right now, right? You know, Mick Harbaugh got burned on it. We're okay with it. You're allowed to stick around and watch them play.
Yeah, no. We didn't. We actually went back to the hotel room and we watched pretty much the rest of the game as a staff. We kind of watched what they were doing, and you know, we seen that some of the guys that they had been playing weren't necessarily playing a lot after halftime. So kind of the same mindset that we had. They had the game in control, and they just, you know, try to get some guys that they may need in case something happens down the way against us, and just let those guys have, you know, some experience up under their feet, what it feels like to be in a championship game.
Now, you're going to be playing in your first national title here in less than 2 weeks. You know, you've got some experience from your time at Middle Georgia. What can you pull from that experience that you can relate to your guys now in prep for this national championship?
I think the thing that we have to do is we've learned how to travel. Because initially, man, from the first couple of games, we weren't traveling well. The guys were young. And so they weren't used to, you know, a lot of guys haven't really been out of the South, so they haven't really seen a lot of the things. So they were kind of in awe of the stadium at first. That's why I was glad that we got there early to kind of let them see that. And outside of that, we just kind of just let them have it and just, you know, they took it in for a few minutes and then we went back in, got focused. Okay, now it's time. Let's go play ball and just do everything that we do 7 seconds at a time.
There we go. All right. Now, Coach Terry, who was the standout, one of the standout players from this weekend on the offensive side of the ball that you know, as a spectator, as the fans, we're going to want to watch this guy on the national stage? Who's going to have a big performance for you guys to lift the big trophy?
I think both of our quarterbacks, you know, we don't really have a starter now, being that, you know, both of those guys are pretty good. Both of those guys actually had pretty decent games. And if I had to give an MVP to anybody, it would be those, or either the backup running back who came in and just he had a really, really big game.
Now, when rotating those quarterbacks, do you go series by series, quarter by quarter, or do you just let a guy go while he's hot, and then if he cools off, go to the next guy? What's your approach there?
Yeah, we kind of go we'll go half to half, but if it depends on if one is struggling, then we'll go every other series or every 2 or 3 series.
Okay.
Just to see who can get hot.
All right, excellent. Well, hey, Coach, I'm glad. This is a pleasant surprise. I was not prepared for you to be on the show today. I didn't think you were available, but this is awesome. This is great. We appreciate it. Congratulations on your first ever playoff win for your team, and best of luck in the national championship. And it's only like 12 days from now. So good luck to you guys. We'll see you
Thanks,
soon.
man. We definitely appreciate it. Yes, sir. We'll see you then.
All right. Take care, Coach.
All right.
All right. So that stage is set. Central Georgia Tech, Ohio State Buckeyes, December 2nd at UPMC Graham Field at Chatham University here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 1 p.m. kickoff. You'll be able to hear the voice of Colt Club Sports, Ryan Norris, doing the play-by-play, and watch the live stream on the VSN network. All the details are available on the NCFA football website, ncfafootball.org. Click on National Championship, and you can see all the details there, everything from parking, things to do in the area. It's going to be a great event, always is. Looking forward to it. That's going to wrap up the football segment of this show. We'll be back after this commercial break to dive into some NCBA baseball updates.
The Game is the official headwear sponsor for Colt Club Sports. They offer our team's quality headwear, such as hats, visors, boonies, and beanies for a great low price. All items are customizable to meet our team's needs. Contact Felicia.Battaglia at ColtClubSports.com for all of your headwear needs.
Rawlings is the proud uniform, equipment, and ball sponsor of the National Club Baseball and Softball Associations. Teams receive up to 45% off on all their orders. For more information, including catalogs and price quotes, contact our front office today.
All right, and welcome back. And as promised, we're on to the NCBA segment of the show, and we welcome to the set Jimmy Henderson. Jimmy, take us through a little update on the baseball side.
Yeah, will do. Thanks, Sandy. First up, I think we have fall tournament recaps from Greenville and Wood Wars that both took place over the past 2 weekends. As you guys can see, Wood Wars, the champions, the LSU Tigers, a World Series team from a couple years ago. Really nice event. I talked to Alec Verhoff, who was down there for the first time. He said the complex was beautiful. Saw a lot of good baseball and a lot of competitive matchups.
And I'm sure Ryan Norris is pleased to keep the Wood Wars trophy in the Gulf Coast region, right? Because I think UConn flew down there, took it the year before, and maybe, was it Shippensburg?
No, you're on the right track.
Yes. A team from Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Millersville.
Millersville went down there and won the Wood Wars tournament. So congratulations to the Gulf Coast for reclaiming their Wood Wars championship. A great event down there held by Ryan Norris, as always.
Yeah, and also we had Greenville Fall Invitational, the 11th annual. Been down there forever. 3 nice fields we have. And UConn, funny enough, goes to Wood Wars last year and came up short, goes to Greenville this year and comes home with the trophy. And I know we're going to have a guest caller here, but just a talking point, they were down 6-0 in the top of the first to South Carolina. So excited to talk to Daniel from UConn and find out how they were able to stay calm and get through that adversity.
All right, well, let's get Daniel on the show.
How's it going, everyone?
Hey, Daniel, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me on here.
Good. Well, thank you guys for coming on. And like I was just telling Sandy, great tournament down there. I know you guys played some competitive games, 2 versus High Point in particular. Then, of course, that championship game was fun to watch. So just talk to us a little bit about your experience down there and how the team was able to win the tournament.
So, yeah, overall, it was a great tournament. I want to say thank you to Antonio. He's our regional director. He ran a really good tournament down there. First things first, High Point was a very great game to start off first. They were a very competitive team, and obviously we saw them again in the semifinal on that championship Sunday. Competition was unlike any other tournament. It was a great time, and I know you guys were talking about our 6-run deficit in the first inning of our championship game, but at the bottom of the first, thankfully our star catcher Sal Despoli was able to give us a base clearing triple, cutting the deficit in half. And from there, we just knew that we were the gritty team all the way from UConn. We were able to battle back every inning. Pitchers were able to hold up to the 7 runs towards the end of the game. And we turned it around and got ourselves a victory.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, shout out to your pitchers too, because what the final score, you guys only gave up 7. So 1 run the rest of the way. That's a huge just shutting the door gives you guys an opportunity to come back in that game. So good job to them as well.
Now, Daniel, tell us a little bit more about your program, because the UConn Huskies are one of the most well-traveled teams in the NCBA. It seems like no distance is too far. And actually, it's your whole club, because I think your club basketball team went out to Los Angeles to play in a tournament at USC last year. What is it about the UConn Huskies and their willingness to hit the road?
Yeah, so fortunately, UConn's giving us a good amount of funding for us to utilize for club sports. And I think as a whole, club sports has a lot of passion to represent what UConn really has, all the talent athletically we have. And obviously, you guys were talking about us going to Woodward's last year, and we actually went to Miami last year as well. And now that we had the opportunity to come down to South Carolina for a great tournament as well, all the club sports here are very competitive, and they want to show that talent out into other tournaments around the country. So, and there's better weather down there.
Well, hey, you're doing a good job of representing the school, because I mean, you're obviously leaving your mark on the court, on the field, on the diamond, as being successful in your athletics. So good job to you guys. Tell us a little bit more about your team, though. So give us a little preview as to the UConn Huskies, because I know you guys have had a good, strong run into the postseason in the past, but is this the year maybe the Huskies can get over the hump and get to the World Series, and we'll be seeing you in St. Louis?
Yeah, so a couple of the guys that I kind of want to highlight here is our ace, Hayden Gorley. He's been a cornerstone in our rotation. He comes out whatever we need, 5 to 7 innings with a disgusting curveball. It just seems like teams aren't able to figure out his off-speed stuff. Our head coach and vice president, Colby Bunnell, he's been a rock in our batting order, and he's always been playing first for us, and he's always been a great leader on and off the field. Our freshman shortstop, Jack DeVignon, he has been very crucial for us in the past couple of weekends. He's been a regular starter now. He showed out against our conference series against Sacred Heart. And Bryce Carey, he is a sophomore for us. He was actually our team MVP. We notified him as the team MVP because he went 8 for 14 with an OPS of 1.171. He had 2 critical hits, and he ended up giving us the game-winning hit against High Point in our semifinal. So it's very well diverse throughout the 4 years. I mean, we have some seniors that are leaving this year, but we also have a very great junior class and a very fortunately big freshman class coming into us.
And Daniel, I know, and I know if Sandy's brought this up, we've had UConn club baseball players on the show before. And Sandy's brought up the point that there's been quite a few MLB players, shockingly enough, coming out of UConn. You know, when you think of baseball powerhouses in college, you don't necessarily think of UConn, but there's been several, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong. George Springer, okay, but a lot of talent coming out of UConn. I know the varsity program got a beautiful baseball facility in the last couple years. Do you guys ever get to play on that, or is that kind of off limits to the varsity program?
So yeah, I mean, we do have a process of being able to schedule some weekends to play on that field, and fortunately, our club coordinator is very well versed in being able to talking a little bit into the athletics program, see maybe if club baseball can get onto that field. And fortunately enough, we have been able to get on a weekend there. It might be tougher in the spring, obviously, because the varsity season's in full swing in the spring. So it's a little tougher, but in the fall, we are fortunate enough to sometimes get onto the field for a weekend.
That's awesome.
Very good.
Good stuff. All right, Daniel. Well, thanks so much for taking some time, and congratulations to you and the Huskies on winning the Greenville Fall Invitational. Best of luck this spring, and maybe we'll be shaking hands in St. Louis this May.
Thank you again. Thank you guys for having me.
Later, Daniel.
All right, good stuff there.
Who else?
George Springer, besides George Springer?
Yeah, I remember you talking. Maybe now I sound like an idiot, probably.
No, you were right. But Springer was the one that catalyzed me into looking into it. I didn't memorize.
I don't even know who that is. I thought there were some other bigger names coming out of UConn.
George Springer's one
Ken
of the
Griffey
names
Jr.
out there, right?
Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah. They both, yeah.
Yeah, Roger Maris,
DiMaggio was a California boy.
Barry Bonds.
Roger Morris was a Kansas City guy. Barry Bonds went to Arizona State.
I thought it was UConn. Anyway,
Go ahead. Ignore him.
Be a project to look up during the winter.
Exactly. All right, hey,
they got a nice baseball field.
Give us a fall recap there.
Fall recap. So I have a couple teams to touch on in Division One. We'll have some more in Division Two, but in the D1 level, we have Temple and Delaware battling up top of the North Atlantic East. Delaware sitting at 7-1 up top, and Temple in second at 8-2. And shout out to Temple, first year up in Division One after making the World Series last year in Division Two, and they're showing they belong.
Good stuff for the Owls.
We also have Miami, Ohio at 8-0 in the Mid-American region, and Iowa State at 6-0, both obviously up top, controlling their own destinies. And Miami, Ohio was a regional team last year, and I want to say Iowa State was as too, but I know Iowa State made the World Series a couple years back. So good programs that have been successful recently, continuing that this year.
Yeah, Miami. I wonder if this is the year they get over there, because I feel like they run off like a 14-1 conference record year after year or something like that, and then make the playoffs. And then we don't get to see them. So St. Louis is a beautiful place to be in May. Think about it.
Moving on to
while I'm on that, since I'm on my tourism kick, hey, UConn, since you like to travel so much, have you seen the beaches of Panama City Beach in March? Gorgeous. Great sand. See you there.
Moving down to D2. D2, a lot. The whole league is fall eligible to play, so we have a little more to touch on. Starting off with the Chesapeake region, Monmouth is leading the Chesapeake North at 4-1, while Westchester leads the Chesapeake South at 6-0 and a 13-1 overall record.
Cool.
I thought you jumped up.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Cortland is leading the New England West, a regional team in the past couple years. California PA is leading the New Penn Central at 6-0, while Milwaukee School of Engineering leads the Northern Plains Central at 8-1. Continuing on with the Northern Plains, Eastern
Milwaukee School of Engineering. That's the team
D2.
that won the D3 World Series and now moved up to D2.
Yep.
They're winning their conference.
They're winning their D2 conference.
See them in D1 soon, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe.
The NPCB.
Maybe. The NPCB.
Finishing off the Northern Plains, Eastern Michigan is leading the East at 5-1, while North Dakota also leads the West also at 5-1. And out in the Rocky Mountain, we have two undefeated teams in Metro State and Pueblo, both at 9-0 and 6-0 respectively. So a lot of fall games kicking off in D2, a lot of games underway, and we'll be finishing up in the spring.
Yep. So we're done with the fall, right?
We're done with the fall.
Okay. So got a couple. Unfortunately, folks, we're not going to have any baseball updates for the next 2 months, huh? Till February.
Not on games played
Not
anyway.
on games played. Lots of planning, lots of stuff. Exciting baseball stuff to talk about, but no more game recaps. Okay. Well, how about housekeeping items? What should baseball teams be focused on right now as we hit this 2-month break?
Get the league dues paid early if you can. You get a $100 discount there. That deadline is December 31st. Each team has been invoiced and emailed to be notified about those invoices. If you need one resent, haven't seen it, don't know what I'm talking about, make sure to reach out to either myself or if you're a Division I team, Eric Curator, or Division III, Alec Fairhoff. And other than that, just gearing up for the spring season.
All right, sounds good. Well, that's a great recap, Jimmy. Thanks so much for all your insight there. I guess next we'll move on to Swing in the Spring, since I'm in that Panama City Beach mode. So registration is still going on for the baseball NCBA portion of Swing in the Spring PCB. It is it runs through December 15th is the registration. Then we start working on schedules. That's also the deadline for schedule request forms due. You can see there on the screen to contact Antonio for more information. About how to register, how to budget for it, and so forth. Antonio can help you out there. Lacey Lautner there on the softball side of things. Their registration runs through January 1st. So, yep, baseball, be sure to get on that. You definitely don't want to miss this opportunity. It's a great time. If you're thinking to yourself, oh, we can't afford it, you can afford it. Trust me. It might be per player, but it's still one of the best things you can do on your spring break at a fraction of the cost of what it takes to go somewhere else. In terms of registrations there, what kind of numbers we're already seeing. On the baseball side, 47 teams already signed up. Week 3 is almost at full capacity. Last few spots are available on a first-come, first-served basis. I know we've got some verbal commits. We're waiting for paperwork to come in. So if you're interested, don't delay. Don't drag your feet. Come on board. Get your spot in. You'll definitely have a great time. Softball, we've got 6 officially signed on with looks like another 6 there, another 8 there that are working on paperwork as we speak to hopefully be coming on and joining us for with those 8 and those 6. That would make it our biggest spring training ever on the softball side. So definitely a can't miss event. It's growing every year. If you don't know anything about it, I had a team reach out to me, Christian, not too long ago, say, I thought we had to be invited. This is your invite. This is your invite.
Come on down.
Come on down. Hit up Antonio if you're baseball. Hit up Lacey if you're softball. Learn more about it. It's not, that selective. If you're a club team in or out of our league. We just had a discussion yesterday with a team with University of Vermont, a team that's not in the league but plans to be in the future. They're looking into it now too because they're interested in coming down, getting out of their Vermont weather, and doing some team baseball activities in the spring. So.
Be good to get out of the Vermont weather.
Yeah, exactly.
And down to Panama City Beach, play some great baseball.
Absolutely. Sorry, the alarm at my house is going off.
That's good.
All right. So I think that's it for the Swing in the Spring portion of the updates. Christian, VP of Softball Operations, why don't you give us a softball?
All right. Hey, absolutely. Softball is in. Well, actually, it was in full swing. We have a couple more series to be played this upcoming weekend. I think one series in Division I. I believe it's Georgia and Kennesaw State, I believe, is the series. And then we're closed up on Division I. In Division II, I think there's 3 series that are being played this upcoming weekend, and then we are shut down for the fall. So a lot of interesting storylines, both in Division I and Division II thus far this fall. I'll start with the Division II side of things. Northern Michigan, the number 1 team in the country. Number 1 since the preseason polls. They're 6-0, 8-0 overall. So they're doing really well and well deserving of that number 1 ranking. Fairfield and Rhode Island both undefeated as well, 6-0 overall during this fall portion of the season. Obviously still a lot of softball left to play. And Stevenson has been a fun team to watch. They just played Maryland's B team, and they defeated won both those games 10-0 and then 21-1. So keep your eye on Stevenson. And Loyola Maryland, another strong start for them. They're 7-3 on the season, and should certainly keep an eye out on them. We just added a new team, Colby Sawyer University, up in I believe New Hampshire. They just joined the District 1 North teams. So welcome aboard Colby Sawyer. We're working on a few other teams: SUNY New Paltz, York College, Eastern Washington. 3 other teams that might even be coming on this year. So. Really exciting stuff in our inaugural year of Division II. On the Division I side of things, like I said earlier, we have one more series this upcoming weekend, and then we are shut down till January as far as games go. But a lot of surprising storylines on the Division I side of things. Iowa, the number 1 team currently in the country, they just dethroned the University of Illinois, who was at number 1, but Illinois, right after they were crowned the number 1 team in the country, they lost 2-3 to Illinois State, which is a big surprise. The South Atlantic North Conference, which in my opinion is one of the most competitive regions in all of the country, top to bottom basically. It's usually dominated by Georgia and Clemson. We have South Carolina atop those standings in the fall at 7-2. South Carolina defeated, I believe it was Clemson, 2 out of 3. Clemson took 2 out of 3 from Georgia. Tennessee took 2 out of 3 from South Carolina. So those teams all kind of beating up on each other. So it'll be very interesting to see how that conference plays out this year. Mid-Atlantic North, James Madison and Virginia Tech, 2 World Series participants this past year. They're sitting at 1-2. They have already played each other, with Virginia Tech taking 2 out of 3 from JMU. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out coming down the stretch in the spring. So a lot of interesting things happening, surprising things happening. So certainly, if you're a fan of club softball, stay tuned. Like we said, we'll be closing the fall portion of the season down, but a lot to look forward to in the spring because lots up for grabs. There's nothing locked in. Nobody has clinched spots. A lot of tight races. So it'll be interesting to see how things shape up come us starting back up in January. So that's the fall season
In a nutshell. All right, good stuff.
Yep. Thank you.
Well, what about our top 20?
Yeah,
top
it's,
10?
top 20s. We'll start with, I believe, D1. We'll go right there. I was alluding to it. Iowa is the number one team. Last year we had Virginia Tech, who is the defending national champions. They remained number one for the majority of the season. Sacred Heart finally took over the number one spot very late in the season. This year we've already had three number one teams: Virginia Tech, Illinois, Iowa. So we'll see what happens next week. But currently, Iowa is atop the rankings. Wisconsin having another stellar year. They're always top their conference. They're unblemished at 9-0, I believe, right now. Air Force, same thing. They're getting a lot of first-place votes, a lot of respect from the voters. I believe they are 9-0. It might even be 12-0 in conference at this point. So playing some strong softball. Out in Colorado, you see Illinois, the former number one team, dropped 5 spots. But still, I was very surprised. They got some first-place votes still. So teams still have a lot of respect for that program, and rightfully so. But that is the Illinois State. The last thing I want to mention, Illinois State makes their debut in the top 20 after defeating Illinois. They get a lot of respect from the voters, coming in at number 17. So a lot of moving and shaking, seems like every week. So make sure you stay tuned to the NCSA top 20 polls, the Rawlings top 20. The next D1 one will come out. It's supposed to come out this upcoming Thursday, but there's a holiday, Thanksgiving on that day, so we're not going to release it then, but we will release it on the 30th, I believe, is the date that the Division I poll will come out. On the Division II side of things, Northern Michigan, number one, have been from the start. But, I think I say this every week, it's really exciting a lot for these programs. We're touching on Stevenson, Loyola Maryland, that, may have not gotten a lot of respect when they were at the Division I level, but now they're in top 10 polls and, playing really competitive softball against their peers. So really excited about Division II and what it's being able to offer these programs, and I think it's going to certainly pay dividends for them, for future seasons. But there's the Rawlings November top 10 poll. We will have another poll coming out in December, and we'll be doing these on a monthly basis since the Division II league is a little bit smaller. But really exciting stuff for the Division II team. So I'm really happy with it.
Absolutely.
So as far as housekeeping items go, I would just tell the teams out there right now, I always say it's my off season. Normally with teams going away during the summer, you would think that's the off season, but we're extremely busy during those months. This time, when the fall season's over, rosters are in, planning for the season has pretty much died down. Now is the time that we really dive deep into regional and World Series planning. So we'll have a lot of regional location updates for teams in the next couple weeks. We'll have our website, the regional page, updated with those updates, but have a lot of good leads as far as locations go. It's just about buttoning those things up. So be on the lookout for regional locations and information on our website about those. The other thing is annual league dues. All the invoices have been sent out. I know a lot of teams have already paid. But if you do want to check to see if your team has paid or has not paid, you can simply reach out to me, christian.smith@callclubsports.com, and I can let you know. But those invoices are in your inbox. Take advantage of that $100 discount by paying by December 31st. And other than that, just checking in regularly with your emails and checking in regularly on the website because we have a lot of updates on those platforms. So happy Thanksgiving.
All right, good stuff. Well, thank you for that softball update, Christian. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll dive into some NCBBA basketball updates.
The Game is the official headwear sponsor for Cold Club Sports. They offer our team's quality headwear, such as hats, visors, boonies, and beanies, for a great low price. All items are customizable to meet our team's needs. Contact Felicia.Battaglia at coldclubsports.com for all of your headwear needs.
Rawlings is the proud uniform, equipment, and ball sponsor of the National Club Baseball and Softball Associations. Teams receive up to 45% off on all their orders. For more information, including catalogs and price quotes, contact our front office today.
Another frustrating game day without officials. Don't let the lack of officials bend your game. Introducing Officials Unlimited, the game-saving solution. We bring expertise, precision, and integrity to every play, ensuring your game runs smoothly. Our officials are experienced. We offer streamlined scheduling solutions and a quality experience for all. Elevate your game with us. Officials Unlimited, elevating sports, raising standards. Visit officialsunlimited.com/schedule or call now 813-503-2197 to ensure your next game is a success.
Welcome back, and as promised, we're on to the basketball portion of our show. Welcome to the set, Matt Hazy, Director of Men's Basketball Operations. Matt, how you doing?
Good, Sandy. How are you? Thank you.
I'm swell.
Good. Glad to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, hey, let's start the big action in, it's November.
Yep.
So we are in season for basketball. November 1st starts the season, and everything kind of kicks off around the Happy Valley Tip-Off Tournament.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Sandy said, the 4th annual Happy Valley Tip-Off was a couple weekends ago. As you can see there on the screen, Northeastern was our winners, our champions this year. They went undefeated, of course, 6-0 on the weekend. Played great all weekend. Everybody who came, we had 19 men's teams there. It was nice to meet everybody, see everybody play. So I hope everybody had a great experience that weekend, as I know I did.
Good stuff. And I think you said you had 20 men's teams?
19 men's teams.
19
yeah.
men's teams, which is the most we've ever had,
Yeah.
right? For
Yep.
men's,
Yep.
right?
So big
Awesome.
improvement there. Yeah.
Love to see the event continuing to grow. Good stuff. So and we're going to be joined by our guest caller, Nate Francois from Northeastern. Is that right?
Yep. Nate.
All right.
There he is.
There you go.
Nate, how are we?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
I'm excited
good.
to be here.
Yeah.
Are you on the phone now?
Yeah, I'm on my phone now.
Do us a favor. Turn it sideways. Oh, that's much better. There we go. Now you're looking handsome for all your fans.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, Nate, just want to talk to you. I want to ask you about how your experience was at the Happy Valley Tip-Off Tournament. Obviously, you guys won. Congratulations again. But just kind of run us through your experience.
The experience was great. I love being out there with my teammates. It was a great time. Just like even being at the basketball tournament, kind of just being in a new area, getting to play new teams. I think just kind of seeing new people too. Playing like different competition was really really good experience. I just appreciate our coach Knox Lindo and President Marcos for making that happen.
Now I hear you dropped 44 against Albany. Albany in double overtime. Is that your game, Nate? Are you big on the score sheet most of the time?
Yeah, I usually average a lot of points for our team. That's just kind of my role, I guess. But we have a lot of other guys on our team who play a bigger role than I do. So.
All right, good stuff. Now talk to us about the Northeastern team. A team that hasn't yet made it to our national championship. Are you feeling strong about this squad and possibly making a super deep postseason run?
Definitely feel strong about the squad. I think we've been together for about like 3 years. The core at least. Me, our point guard Sean Ediger, our forward Nicole Ediger, our starting center Sean Gyrie, and then our other starter Amar Udar. Kind of been together for about 3 years now. We kind of played behind the veterans, learned behind them a lot. I think we got a taste of regionals last year, and kind of just having that sour taste of our mouth of losing in the first round and kind of getting complacent from the things that we did earlier in the season. It's kind of given us a lot of experience for this season and kind of making sure that, like, even with the rankings coming out and winning this tournament, that we don't get complacent and get satisfied.
Now, I want to point out something that Nate's done really well during this interview, right? He name-dropped as many of his teammates as possible, which is going to help him when he goes to the bar Friday night. Those guys each owe him a beer.
Yeah.
So that's a good move, Nate. That's a veteran move right there. Get them some airtime. They're going to take care of you on the bar tab come the weekend.
Nate, one more question for you. What's moving forward as we get on to the rest of the season, heading into hopefully your goal is regionals and national championship? What is Coach Knox kind of instilling you guys each practice as you guys take on the rest of the season?
I think the biggest thing that he's been instilling us, just like the rest of the team too, is complacency, right? Making sure we don't get complacent where we are. Just kind of like nothing better than number one, right? So just kind of making sure we stay hungry, stay poised, and it's just like stay being the underdog. That's when we play the best. I think last season we kind of came in as underdogs and kind of going to the Happy Valley tournament, going 5-1, losing the championship. I think we kind of all knew we were a really good team, but we kind of like kept thinking that too much. So it kind of made us lose a lot of games last year that we weren't supposed to lose, and going into regionals, our mind wasn't where it needed to be. So making sure this season that we're all in the right place mentally and kind of just making sure we stay hungry.
Now, Nate, when you look at that regular season schedule that's just getting started now, is there a team that you guys have circled on the calendar as the big opponent, the rival that you guys really get up for up there in New England?
I don't want to say have circle on the calendar, but we're definitely looking forward to a couple games. BU, just because they're right down the street, right down the street rivals. BC, every time you play them, it's really, really competitive. Really good games. My freshman year, I don't think we beat them. My second year, we went 1-1. So hopefully, going up this year and being able to go 2-0 is a really important game. So kind of have those two games circled on my calendar for sure.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. I thought BC might pop in there, given that they've won the regional a couple times up there. So,
yeah.
All right. You got anything else for Nate?
No, I think that's it. Nate, once again, thank you for coming on, and congratulations again on winning the 4th annual Happy Valley Fall Tip-Off. Good luck to you the rest of the season.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you for the welcome for our season. And shout out to all my teammates, like you said, and our coaches.
All right. Sounds good. Great job, Nate. We'll see you down the road. All right. Good stuff. Good interview there. All right. Anything else about Happy Valley you want to get into? Other teams that look strong?
Yeah, I mean, Delaware was kind of, not really knowing too much about Delaware team and watching them play all weekend. They really put on a good performance. Penn State, as always, is up there. Same with Villanova as well. And a little bit of a surprise was Rowan.
Okay.
Rowan did very well. So looking forward to seeing how they do the rest of the season too.
All right, good stuff. And that season is underway. So I'm assuming next month we'll probably have some recaps for regular season games going on.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Let's dive right into the top 20 poll for men's basketball. What do we got there?
We actually have a new number one, Northeastern, taking 9 of the 13 potential first place votes, dethroning the reigning champs in UCLA. As you can see there, UCLA has dropped to 3 with James Madison in that second spot. They're currently 4-0. Penn State stays at 4 from the preseason poll. I believe they're 4-1, 5-1. And then, like I said, Delaware jumping from not ranked all the way up to 5 after that strong Happy Valley performance.
Oh, wow.
And then, it looks like we also have Iona. I can't see who that is. Stonehill, War Pauley, and DePaul coming in, and Rowan coming in, not ranked from the preseason poll to having a strong first 2 weeks there. And, coming into the top 20.
Okay, good for those guys. Wow. Miami, new team to the league.
Yeah, Miami,
sliding up
new
to the
team.
7th spot.
They've played, I believe they're 8-1. They've played a lot of non-conference tournaments so far. So,
Okay.
yeah, they're getting a lot of recognition. First-year team.
Good for them. UCLA dropped some games. Is that why they slipped?
UCLA, I believe they actually beat USC Cardinal in the USC tournament out there. But yeah, I guess Northeastern being 10-0 was enough for the voters, and winning the Happy Valley tournament was enough for the voters to take them over UCLA for now.
All right, good for them. Well, hey, it's we're 3 weeks into a very long season,
Yes.
so lots more basketball
Yes.
to be played, both this fall and come the spring. So good stuff. Housekeeping items for the basketball teams that they should be focused on right now.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is the academic eligibility forms, your rosters. If you have yet to play your first conference series, making sure you're getting those in before your first series is the most important thing. After that, I would say dues. As Christian said, as Jimmy said, dues have been sent out. They're in your inboxes. If you want to take advantage of that $100 discount, you have to pay up until December 31st to take advantage of that. So if you haven't received that, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to get that resent to you for whatever reason you didn't receive that. But right now, I'd say those are probably the most important things. That, and then getting your weekly submissions in on time. Sundays at midnight. We need to get those scores in by Monday at the latest.
Okay. So sounds good. Well, let's slide over to the women's side of basketball, and we're going to stay right here with Matt because Alec is on sabbatical today.
Yeah. Alec gave me some notes, so hopefully I can cover everything.
All right. Well, let's dive right into Happy Valley Fall tip-off in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was there. So on the women's side of things, we had 4 teams. We had Grand Valley State, SUNY Cortland, Penn State, and Ohio State, who beat Penn State in the championship. It was a very close game. Ohio State played well. All teams played well all weekend. So Ohio State, runner-ups in the national championship last year. Yeah, good tournament for them. They're very impressive.
All right, good stuff there. And I think, do we have Eddie Day available as a caller? Yes, we do.
There he is.
Coach.
How's it going? Can you guys hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay. Sorry about the
No problem. Not a problem at all. But appreciate you joining us on the show. You're on your phone, right? There we go. Oh, there we go. Hey, congratulations on hosting the Happy Valley Hardware.
Thank you. Yeah, it was another great tournament, and some good teams there that we have some history with, but another good opportunity to get some early season games in.
Good stuff.
Yeah, Eddie. Just want to run through. Last year you were the runner-ups in the national championship. What is the team looking like this year? Anything different from last year? And how are they looking this year? Anything different?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we've got 7 new girls, so there is a good amount of turnaround. We do have a good core group returning, but losing a starting point guard and a few other guards and bigs, we kind of have this learning curve right now where we're trying to rebuild that team chemistry that we've had over the last couple of years. So a lot of talent, but as you guys have mentioned, very early in the season and a little different than last year. Before last year, the state tournament, we were able to get a couple of games under our belt. And this year, we didn't. These were our first games, so I told them before we left I was going to learn as much about them that weekend as anybody. So it was a good experience for us to get some games and to get the new girls some experience as well.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more that, some teams approach these fall tournaments as we want to go win the trophy. But, if your goal at the end of the year, which I think yours is to lift the big trophy up, these fall tournaments are even a better opportunity to learn about your team and your new players to learn about how to play this level of basketball. And I think that's really, if your grand goal is the big picture, that's where the benefit of these fall invitationals comes into play. Is team development for being in a full operation come April. So good stuff there.
Yeah. I told him I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. You're up.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just saying, that was part of my message to practice before we left was, we're not going to win a national championship after that weekend, and we're not going to lose it after that weekend, no matter the result. So whether we had won that tournament or lost it, there's still 5 months of season left, and we still have practice that next week. So just trying to keep things in perspective for them, and they did very well.
Good stuff. Who some of the core seniors that are back? Can you give us some names there? Because I mean, obviously, you guys have been on that national dance floor a couple times now. Some of your players are have name recognition through the league. We'd love to know who's back.
Yeah, we've got Chloe Antigos. She's back. She's our president this year. She's taking the place for Carrie Ann Deese, who graduated and was our president last year as our starting point guard as well. We've got Tess Broman back. She's probably our leading scorer last year, more often than not. And we've got Ali Intihar back. She's a senior. And Riley Wilson as well. So a good core group of 4 that are returning. And, a couple of those are returning from, that national championship loss against Boston College 2 years ago. So there's a lot of history there. We're trying to instill, what has happened the last few seasons with our new girls as well. But yeah, we got a good core and a lot of new talent.
All right, 3-point Tess is back. She drains the 3.
Yep.
All right, good stuff. Sounds like a good core, and we look forward to getting to meet your new freshmen and so forth, your new players as the season progresses.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, thanks, Eddie.
Nothing
Appreciate
else.
you joining us on the show, and congratulations to you and the Buckeyes for taking home the Happy Valley Hardware. And we hope to see you this spring in the postseason once again.
Sounds good. Thank you to you guys. And again, always a great tournament. Look forward to seeing you guys down the road.
Will do.
Thank
All right.
you.
All right, so let's dive into some of the women's basketball, like their updated top
Yeah.
15.
Yeah, absolutely. So Alec provided me some notes for this. So it looks like the reigning champs, Nevada, remains number 1 after a 4-0 weekend. Boston College jumps Ohio State for that 2nd spot. Ohio State falls to that 3 spot. We have Penn in the 4th, and then Northeastern on the women's side also in the top 15, top 5. So it looks like both programs are doing well so far. And then we have a couple newcomers to the top 15. We have Brown, Vermont, Montclair, Creighton, and SUNY Binghamton.
All right.
Jumping in.
It's interesting how there's so many similarities between
yeah.
teams are really good on the men's side and really good on the women's side, or you see them really good in baseball, but they're also really good in other sports. It's often it's a cultural, what that schools puts into their club sports programs can often drive the success of all their teams, and you see that in the top rankings. So good stuff there. All right, on the women's side, housekeeping items probably very similar to stuff.
Yeah, housekeeping items on the women's side is going to be pretty similar to the men's side. Getting in those academic letters before your first conference series, the weekly team submission forms, paying your dues, before December 31st if you want to take advantage of that $100 early discount. And yeah, just continuing to have a good season.
All right, good stuff. Well, hey, that's going to wrap up the basketball segment of the show, which really wraps up the end of this episode of Suite 301. So we appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms, and we look forward to seeing you next month. When is that show?
Yeah, the next episode is December 19th at 3:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Right here on Facebook Live. Join us then to catch up on everything that's happening around Cool Club Sports.
And don't forget, it's a game.
Have fun.